This is In the Loop. I'm Bianca Fascini in for Christian Bryant. Let's take a look at our top story tonight. If you go on social media these days, the second you get to scrolling, you're bombarded with ads. Then you might go to another site and see the same ones. SurveyMonkey found that even though ads perform well on social platforms, with nearly half of social media users buying something from those ads, 74% of people think there are just too many. That wasn't always the case though. The first digital ad was an AT&T banner on hotwire.com, now known as Wired, that made its debut in 1994. For over 4 months, a whopping 44% of people clicked on it. Definitely not something we'd see today. It was part of AT&T's larger You Will campaign. It featured futuristic commercials where people were doing things like using a GPS or video calling, and their predictions actually came true.
Across the country,
Gesture ahead, take next exit.
without stopping for directions or attended a meeting
I really like what you guys have been doing, but
in your bare feet.
It was something that hadn't been seen before. People were even sharing the link to the ad with friends. Facebook, now Meta, got its start in 2004, but it didn't make its first ad deal until 2006 in a partnership with JPMorgan Chase to advertise credit cards. YouTube soon followed, launching ads on their platform in 2007, and they first used transparent ads that covered the bottom of the video. In 2010, Twitter introduced ads. By then, it was already a lot more common to see ads on social media. Instagram and Pinterest would soon do the same in 2013 and Snapchat in 2014. Today, digital ads are nearly impossible to avoid. According to a 2020 study, Facebook and Instagram show more ads on average than any other major social media platform. For both apps, more than 20% of the posts you see on your feed each time are ads. For Instagram, that roughly breaks down to an ad every 4 posts or so. So is there anything you can do to stop seeing these influx of ads every time you open your social media? Reporting them is definitely not the way to go. One study found users who report ads see about 5% more ads than users who don't. Cutting down on some of the time you spend on these apps could help a little bit. Instagram actually shows more ads to people who spend more time on their app. Unfortunately, you can't just turn them off. A lot of these social media sites rely on ad dollars to keep their business running. In 2020, 97% of Facebook's global revenue came from advertising. A lot of companies prefer advertising on these platforms because it's cheaper and it works for them. Market research company Million Insights found in a recent report that the global social media advertising market was valued at $103 billion in 2020 and is expected to see an annual growth rate of 12.4% between 2021 and 2028. To talk with us more about this, we're bringing in our tech correspondent, Tyler Adkisson. Tyler, we've talked about what social media consumers are seeing on their feeds, but from a marketing standpoint, what incentives are there for companies that invest in digital advertising?
Advertising is entirely an economy of attention, and when your consumer's attention is turned toward digital platforms, you're going to put your resources toward where those eyeballs are. More than 2 billion people buy stuff online each year, and when you can put targeted advertisements in front of the eyes of people who might end up clicking on them and then spend their cash on those ads they're presented, it makes sense to make your way into that digital market. A 2021 Pew study found that about 85% of U.S. adults are online at least daily, and many of them on social media. Pew also found that 4 in 5 adults use YouTube, 7 in 10 use Facebook, and 4 in 10 use Instagram. And because of that, it really makes sense to be able to get those targeted ads straight to people. That's another part of this digital economy that's sort of understated, is that these ads can respond a lot quicker to current events and other things that may impact your advertising. With traditional ads, you're relying on a budget that's set up way in advance. You're buying up chunks of ads that exist on a monthly or quarterly duration, and once you pay for it, it's set. With digital ads, if a new fad comes up, 1 week, you can really get in there and change everything that you want to present to your customers like in the drop of a hat. And it's really going to see cash flow, this digital ad market. There's a study that came out from CMO, which looks at how marketing leaders on an annual basis spend their cash. And what they said was that at this point, they expect their social media ad spending to increase by 90% this year. And that is going to account for nearly a fifth of their total ad budgets.
And for social media companies, should they be worried that this ad saturation could turn users away?
I mean, there is that concern, but given that these social media companies make almost all of their cash off of digital advertising, there's a means to make sure that it doesn't happen. But we really haven't seen a mass exodus serve, given the fact that we're seeing ads on every third or fourth post, especially on Instagram. There's the idea that there could be ad fatigue that may turn people away from using the products because they're seeing them so often on here. But because people are using social media so often, the biggest companies are still going to continue to allocate their cash to these platforms. There's a report from Inside Intelligence which found that U.S. digital ad spending is supposed to be more than $200 billion this year, which is up 38% since 2020. Facebook has 1.96 billion daily active users, which is up about 4% from last year. Twitter has about 229 million daily users, which is up 16% from a year ago. So even if people feel as if they are being served more and more ads, they're still finding more people to get onto these platforms, and people are still choosing to stay on them.
But do you think we'll ever live in a world where traditional advertising is completely a thing of the past?
Not at its current stage. Even though people spend more time online, they can become desensitized to seeing the same ads again and again and again. There's a HubSpot survey which found that more than 4 out of 10 survey participants didn't even watch advertisements that were played before videos that they saw on social media. There's also the pure economic side of things too, which, a lot of the reason that digital ads are so lucrative is because they rely on user data from different websites that they collect in order to figure out what the most successful ads that are going to work on a certain person when they are targeted by them. But, companies like Google and Apple are starting to phase out a lot of the information trackers that third parties and other advertisers use to figure out how they're going to serve you those ads. So if that starts going away and you're worried about reach, you may go back to the traditional billboard advertisement or TV advertisement in the hopes that you may hit more consumers rather than hitting a few specific consumers who would likely buy your product.
Newsy correspondent Tyler Adkison, thank you.
Thank you.